Hi everybody and welcome back to another episode of 100 Days of Code with me, Lilly Code. We're on day 38, would you believe? So we're going to just keep on going with the project that we're creating at the moment. What we're doing is we're adding Firebase into our project to get a back end working, and then we're also going to look at promises and async await. So I've been a bit all over the place the last few lessons, and I noticed that the video froze yesterday. But I just put it up anyway. Sorry about that, guys. So yes, I apologise for that. I should really just trim it or something. Yes, I will have to do that. But you live and you learn. So we're getting there. So I'm just going to continue on here with what we've been doing, which, as I was saying, is adding Firebase to this project. So let's go. So okay. So yes, we were just getting Firebase set up here, trying to get data back from the server, which I think, we just had an error with that. So if I open up my terminal here, new terminal, and cd into the project, so we're within code and 01, like so, excuse me, and npm start to get that fired up. So that's great. That will only be a moment, hopefully. All going well to plan. So we'll see now. Okay, I'll just open it on another port. Why not? I'll get rid of these old ones.
So this is our demo application at the moment. And of course it's fairly...
That should not be on loud. So I will just plug in my headphones. Get my application up here. And let's check this out. So I'll open up my dev tools, and what else will I do? Close everything, because there's a lot going on right now that we don't need to be looking at. So cool. Now we have what's going on here, right? So when we click me, we should send that request. So we have it back. There's our response. And it's not getting back data. So let's just figure that out. So we have our response coming back. So should I call this response? No. Maybe if I do, just totally taking a whirl at this, but const data is equal to, because we want this response. But that's self-contained, so if we return response.data from here, return data is equal to response.json, and then will I have the data? No. Line 23. So let's just see if I can just do, const, return const data. And this should send it back out. So maybe if I just do const data is equal to the response.json, because we know we have that, and then return back this data. And then do we have data further down? Let's save and see. This isn't what Max did, so I'm not certain, to be honest, but yeah. Awesome. So yes, we just hadn't actually captured this yet to come down here is what I'm thinking is going on. So we had this fetch function set up here, where we're fetching our movies from this test API, and this is set up in order to say, then once we have this fetch, then what we want to do is take the response and transform it. So here's the response, and instead put it into the response.json format. So we just want to return it, JSONize it, put it back in the response type of a JSON. So we just have a big old object like this is the response here. You can see that, this is a JSON object. So that's grand. And then, this is just the response. Down here is the JSON. Yes. So, because when we're console logging out here, we haven't actually done that exchange yet to say, well, we want data to equal response.json. So that's the format we want. It's an inbuilt function that you can run that parses your response into a JSON format. So then once we return it, we can then use it further down. So that all looks okay. That's super duper. And I'm going to just keep on watching Max. I hope that that all makes sense to me. So no, I didn't do anything wrong. And then
we have this.
Why are you talking so loud, Max? Come on. It's quiet time. So, here we go. And I'm afraid he's going to blow the eardrums off me. So, okay, I just turned it down because the last thing I want to be doing is shouting. My ears. Okay. So, let me just pause this for un momento, por favor. So I'm just going to come to the file that we are currently doing, which is sugar. Okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Cool. So now I know where we are at, and Max was just waffling away a bit, so I've gone to the next. Yes, so that was the problem. We had not returned back out this response.json. We could have just actually returned it. And then we're telling it what we're calling that thing being returned in the next loop anyway. So we don't even have to call it data. We can just say return. So the problem was we weren't returning it to do something with it, which is just saying, like, when you exit out of this little block of code, bring this thing out with you, you know, so we can use it somewhere else. So we had just forgot a return. And then, as you see, you can only have one return statement because this is where it exits that function then. So that's why everything underneath goes this color, because it's actually unreachable code now. So if I just save that, we should have the same results, and that makes sense. So we'll reload, we'll click me. Ooh, 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 ooh. So we just want to check as well console log data to make sure we still do have that data in there. So data, however you say it, as you wish, guys, as you wish. And can't believe we're on day 38. It's going super duper. We're flying along here. So I'll just add in my semicolon there, save, and let's actually have a look at what's coming back out. We have a few warnings, but that's okay. I'm not overly concerned once we are making progress. So perfect, there we go. We have now got our data, and that's all that we needed to do. So we can get rid of these console logs now. We know we have what we need. And okay, so he's interacting with this data in other components and stuff. I should have just copied the project for this instead of messing around doing this. Do you know what? That's the best solution, isn't it, really? Because I was just firing on ahead with, like, not even the right code and just implementing this in a completely different project. Because why not? Like, this has nothing got to do with movies, but so do you know what? We'll actually just go and get the code for chapter 14 first of all, if I have it handy, because that makes more sense. And then once we know what's going on with this Firebase, and you know that we've properly got it set up, we can continue on. And he's going to go into async and await as well now in a moment. So that's brilliant. This is what I've been running around all over the shop looking for in the course, and like starting different sections in order to just get to async await. and now we've got there. So we'll be there in a moment, hopefully this lecture. So that is great news, guys. I am pumped anyway. Yeah, absolutely super. I really want to learn more about Async Await. I want to fully get it into my head, what's going on. It is going in. It really is going in, actually. I'm starting to see what's going on. But in work, I have to use Async Await in a very complex fashion. And I was just struggling a little bit. So it was time I just went and did this. So, you know, I can do my job proficiently and not be getting stuck. So that's why we took a detour. Which I think is a good reason for me anyway. So now, and we're coding, but just once you're coding every day, that's all you have to be doing. So we're going to open this up with code 14. This is the one that we're currently looking at now. This is the code we should be at. So I can just skip ahead now to the section which, you know, we haven't used that yet, because all the time I've been coding along and writing the code and getting to the section that we're currently on with Max. Whereas this time I did the code in some other project. I'm all over the shop. So we'll just open up the code. We can do that. So that's super duper. So let's just get this going. Sorry about this, guys. Messing. So now chapter 14. Where are we at, Max? We are only our starting app and back end. Sending a get request and then using Async Await. Oh my god, it's the next chapter. I'm so excited. Okay, so yes, I trust the authors. Max, you my guy, I trust you. So Maximillian is the guy who has wrote this course that I'm following. All the information is in the description box below, as with all the videos. So here, what we got going on. There we go, sending a get request. Perfect. This is where we're at. This is great. Handling loading data states is after Async Await. So we're going to go into the 2 folder and get going from there. So don't care about updates. We're busy people here. So we'll CD into code and then into O2 instead of O1 this time. Come on. What's going on? So CD O2. Okay, we're in. Great. And now I'll do an npm install because, oh no, not in capitals. In small letters, npm install, in order to get our package.json run and install all of those packages that are listed in the package.json. And where we install them is in a node modules folder, which just pulls in all of this different packages that we've said we want to use, which actually doesn't have that many. It's great, very streamlined. So we can see all we have here in our dependency is testing library Jest. Oh, are we going to get into Jest? Oh my god, this is so exciting. I need to learn Jest as well. That would be actually amazing if he's going to go through this, because I will be flying in work. And I'm sick of being a slowpoke. No, I wouldn't say I'm a slowpoke, but you know, it just takes you a minute to figure things out when everything is new, sort of. So, but you get there. Practice makes perfect. Do you know what I mean? So if there's nothing, don't be worrying about it. Just keep practicing, guys. So these are the different things that we are depending on. So that's actually grand. Like, he doesn't have big old lists in here, you know, which is great. But surely just gonna stick on my old jacket. Sorry, dropped a fork. Eating my lunch earlier on. I live in this room, so I literally live in this room. Oh, it's great, you know. Very grateful to have a nice little room that I can live in. It's wonderful. So Npm Audit Fix, just to run the recommended command that we're being told to run here, which is in order to fix any of the things with those packages that we've just installed that may not still be suitable. So perhaps they've upgraded a certain one of the packages and they didn't, another one of the packages needs to be increased to a higher number, like a higher version of that installed, in order for them to work properly together or whatever. So, and you can also do Npm Audit Fix force here, as you can see, to install breaking changes, or refer to Npm Audit for steps to fix these properly. So that's okay. We fixed 15 vulnerabilities. Oh no 15 of them require manual review, so for me to go in and have a look and figure it out. But you know what, guys, I don't care, because if it runs, then I want to get on to Async Await. So I'm going to do npm start in order to start up this server, and let's just see if we have to fix things. We certainly will, but if it's gonna run, I'm gonna keep on going because I want to run with the code. Oh, terrible jokes. So at least, make myself laugh. Hopefully somebody else finds it funny. Probably not, but yeah. Cool. Then you want to manage if something goes wrong with these. So you would have like a catch block and a catch block, and it can cause this triangle effect, and it's called callback hell. So in order to fix this, they came up with Async Await, which is just a way to still transfer those objects into promises, but you can move ahead and write the rest of your code and it doesn't go into the callback held. So you'll probably hear all these terms if you start looking into this yourself, and we're looking into it here together. So this is delightful. So here for the fetch, hey, what's going on? How come I only got one little bracket? So we'll just copy this. And then we will comment this out. I only ever do the Essex accent, but like I could do a Liverpool one instead. This Async Await. Perfect. This is great. So that means we can get rid of all of these thens. And then we just have our const. Well, that's constant, which is telling us how we want the format of our code to be. So let's just make sure we have the right amount of brackets here. So this should be in line with the return. Yes, these two are closing off. And I have different extensions installed here that like colorize the different brackets, which is so helpful. Like you just know yellow's going with yellow. And also this line thing where it adds in the line, so you can see exactly where it is, what line it should be on, in case I accidentally had this tabbed in like that. See, it tells me like it's not at the right level now. So very, very helpful tools in Visual Studio Code. Check out my extensions video if you haven't already seen that, for what extensions I recommend. Sorry, my shirt sleeve is pulled up and it's not very comfortable. So, super. So now what do we have? What's going on? Yeah, we just need to get rid of some of this. So then our set movies is going to go in here. So then we set our movies, and then this is closing off our bracket here. We do not any longer have a circle one, just a normal parentheses. Yes. So when we fetch here, we should get back a 200 response in the network to say it was successful. So we can see there 200, we got our logo back successfully. 200 for our films. This is the request that we sent back. So we can see there 200, and any 200 status code that comes back from the server just means it was successful. You've got your data. So super duper. Yeah, so if we we're waiting for our data to come back, we have a loading state that displays that tells the user that we're just loading that data. So we will do that now. So going to be false, and then set loading in order to change that boolean from true to false or false to true. In this case, false to true on the first iteration of changing it, because we're starting with it being initialized as false. So we'll continue. Yeah, so once we've started to fetch the movies handler, this is when we want to set this to true. So we just use that set loading. That is the function we can use to update this state, and we'll pass in the new state of true. And then once we get back our data, here we can set it back to false. So this should obviously be inside those, like so. And then I'll just copy this line, which saved me so much time. It didn't. And just type in false here. So awesome. And then what we want to do is actually either display or don't display the movie list, or check if it's loading. So in here we can do this and do loading. So if it's loading, if it is not loading, we want to display the movie list. So we say not loading and double ampersand to say show this thing. We just close off our curly bracket, and then we have another one for in the case that it is the data that they want. So now, if we click fetch movies, we should see loading for a second. Oh, brilliant. And it's actually stuck on loading because we haven't yet, we're sending it to the wrong API request. So we can see that there now. That's loading at the moment, hasn't got it back. We'll have to actually handle if something is wrong with the response as well. So we'll do error handling with HTTP requests now in a moment. But for a moment, if I just go back and change that to films and fetch it, we see loading for a moment, and then we get our films and the loading goes away. So we've just implemented a loading, you know, when you're waiting for your data to come back to tell the user that it's loading. And in here we could put in a spinner, you know, we could, it doesn't have to just be text, but the text is fine, but you can put in a spinner. And even with the spinners, there's different packages you can use. So you can go to npm and look at the loading packages, you know, so npm loading package spinner, and there's some really cool spinner packages that you can get. And you can have all different types of loading spinners. So like there's even one that's a Pac-Man, and you just type in Pac-Man and then it's like, you know, the Pac-Man eating the balls across the screen. So there's loads of different ones that you can use with a pre-installed package like this. Very handy. So yeah, you can look into that yourself, and you just npm install that at the root where the package.json file is. This will add it to the package.json, and it will add it to the node modules as well. So super duper. You can use tools like that to assist you for different things that you might want to be doing in your app. So great. Yeah. Okay, so we can add some more, what would you call it, some more conditions to whether or not the movie list displays here. So something else we might want to also check for is, do we have any movies? Do we have something coming back in that object that we can actually display? So we can say, and movies.length is greater than 0. So do we actually have movies? And then we'll just do and again. And means all of these things must be true. So it must not be loading. The movie's length must be greater than 0. And then if that's the case, you're displaying this last piece of JSX code that you have. So then we want to display, if those things are true, show the movie list. So that's what's going on. Yeah, so maybe if we haven't got any movies back, we want to add a fallback as well. So in the case that we don't have movies, you know, we'll show something else here. So we in here, if the movies.length is 0, so we will just equal this to 0 rather than saying greater than. We'll say if it is 0, then we want to display another paragraph, and this one can say no movies found. So like that, and then in here we'll just say no. Cool. And then what's going on? So we have our double ampersand. Did you mean all of this stuff? No. Okay, yeah, so my slash is just in the wrong place. I was looking at that thinking, I think that's in the wrong place, and then I just seen that it was. So we'll just move that there, and then that little error should go away. Perfect. So now we have no movies at the moment. Then we load them. Perfecto selecto. Great. Yeah. So things like this are very sitting around not knowing what's going on. If something is loading or taking a moment to come back from the server, to keep them informed is very important, because it keeps them retained on your site and keeps it happy, a happy user experience. So this is all very, very important. So great. Okay, so in the case that there's an error, so for example, if we had this wrong URL that we seen, which was returning back an error state from our server, we got an error response, it couldn't find the information. So if we see now, let's just reload, try and fetch, and we can see we've got a 404 on the fetch. So you can Google these and you can find information out about all of these different error codes, you know. So 404 error code on Wikipedia. Wikipedia has the information that you need, but yeah, so let's just go to Wikipedia here. And I mean, really should donate to Wikipedia, in fairness. They're blooming great resource. For me amigos. Just trying to pause this. Well, that was a wonderful surprise call from one of my best friends in the whole world, Tina. Love you, Tina. Love you, girl, so much. She is the most phenomenal human being. She is amazing. I'm not going to stand here and air all of the wonderful things that she has done, but she is wonderful. And I love you so much. So we'll get on here with what we're doing. Love you, girl. That was lovely. It was so nice. I love her so much. Okay, so we're going to get back in here. So what we're going to manage now is handling this error state. So that's what we're going to do. So, and why is that not on silent? Oh, I love her. My friend. So just putting that in silent and listening to this. Cool. Okay, perfect. So we're going to put this into a try catch block, which will tell us, first of all, we'll try a piece of code, and then if there's an error, we catch the error. So that's how we can manage this if something comes back incorrectly. So we try something, and then we catch the error. So then down here, so what we want to try is everything. We want to try it all. So, un momento. I'll just go back here. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so we want to put everything, all of this code, up into the try block. So this is what we're going to try. And then in the case that there is an error, we just add a catch error here. And we can call this whatever we want. I'll call it ERR, catch the error. And we'll open up our curly parentheses and tell it what to do in the case that it catches an error. So okay. Okay. So the response object has an OK field on it that we can tap into to see if this is actually a successful response or not. So we can say if response OK, because of that exclamation mark, which negates it, so that's not OK now. So if the response is not OK, so we have a response.OK field, and we also have a response.status field, and the response.status field will tell us what that response status was. So 404 or 200 in the case of a successful response, and 404 in the case of this erroneous response where something went wrong. So what we want to do then is just throw new error, and we can say incorrect, something went wrong. Cool. So now error, because we've said throw new error, this error is a string because we've passed it a string. So then down here we can actually use that string and say set error and pass in error.message. Okay, cool. And this is not what we want. We want set error. Cool. So okay. So sorry, my ear. So where do we get this error from? Do we get it from React? Surely that's part of React. Oh, or no, we need our set error and our error. So we need to define a new constant. This is for setting the error. So I think we want an error. I think we want an error set state. I think that's what we're missing. So yeah, so we need error and set error. We should have done that. So up here we need, let's duplicate this, and we have error and set error. And what do we want this to be? Just null initially. Great. And then when we come into this async function, we will actually just set this to null again. Something we have a fresh state with the error, you know, there's definitely nothing in that error, and then we can set something into the error in the instance that we have an error. So here we will set the error back to null just to be sure before we start here, and if we actually have an error, we're going to set it to the error.message. So cool. Oh, why is this making my ear itchy? It's like the vibrations are itching my ear. What's going on? Cool. And now what we can do is down here when we're returning back out our JSX code, which is what's coming onto the page, we can add another section here that's going to show in the case of an error. So we will legazo, and then we'll do if it's not loading and the error, and we have an error, so there's something in here, this isn't null in this case, and then we want to display a certain paragraph of text, so we will do that. Legazo, and we'll add in some text in here. And the text that we want to display is the actual error that we've saved, the string. So error. And then what we want to do, which obviously makes sense as well, is back up here. We want to move this set loading back down past everything because we want to set the loading back to false independent of this error.